Hello and welcome to Stammerun with me, John. It is November and I just wanted to take this opportunity today to do something that's really important and really close to my own heart and do a video on the reason why it is. So lots of people will be growing their facial hair and in recognition of men's mental health. Now, I'm going to read some stats and I just want you to listen to these stats, and then we can go through a topic which, as I say, is really important to me and to lots of other people. So I'm going to try to do this in one take. I think it's really important to try to give the respect that this is, no edits, no cuts, walk to norm. So we're going to go through some stats. So it's 556 men in England ended their lives in 2023. That's 11.2% per 100,000 people, and most of those were men aged between 45 to 49 years old. And as an overall percentage, was 25.3% of all of the suicides. Wales, 386 men, 14% overall, and male suicides accounted for 22% of the overall statistic. And in Wales, that's men aged between 30 to 34. In Scotland, there were 792, overall 14.6% per 100,000, and of that the average age was 46.6. In Northern Ireland there were 203, 12.3 per 100,000, and the average age again was about 40 years old. So in 2023, these are statistics, but these are not just stats. These are men, these are people. Every one of those numbers that I just read is a person, is a man, is a husband, a father, a child, an uncle that ended their lives in 2023. So the figures and the stats are not yet out for 2024. So that's another a month and a half where men will take their own life. So it's really important for us to take a second to recognize all of those numbers and all of those people and men who have ended their lives this year. So as I've just said, this is going to be over one take. So, it's not going to be perfect, and that's a segue into men. We are not all perfect people. I'm certainly not, and this month it should be really poignant to lots of people. Now, I can only speak for myself. I can only tell you my experiences and why this is so important to me and continued to be so important to me, and why I think more recognition and more things need to be done around men's health, and particularly men's mental health. So as a man and as a father, I know the pressures that are put upon you, to always succeed, always to be the best, always to provide for your family financially, and always just be there and give you time. Now, I can only speak for myself, and I don't speak for all men, but I've found it and find it really difficult to talk to people, and always have. I don't think men really give ourselves the opportunity to talk to each other, which I find, having now spoken to other men and talking the way that I do, I find that most of us are eager to open up, and I think to other men, but I think that media, with this masculinity talk, this toxicness that seems to be the rhetoric of today, whereby if a man says anything that is, you know, outside of what they should say, we are toxic. And, you know, I think that's simply not true. I think sometimes the majority of men get tired with the actions of other men. So there's this whole this rhetoric around men. Now, I think as I've said, as men, I don't think we talk enough about our issues, and that transfers to men, you know, to teenagers as well, to young boys, and pressures that are put on them to look a certain way, you know, to be a certain way, to act a certain way. You know, the ironic thing is, you know, I'm posting this on a platform, you know, that rightly or wrongly, it does promote, you know, things that I don't necessarily agree with or like. So now, I ask myself, am I fanning that flame? But I feel like I'm obligated then to make a video like this for men, because, you know, I don't want to add to that statistic. I don't want to add to a platform in a negative way. So talking about me, and, you know, I'm gonna open up and, you know, and just be honest completely. You know, I've had mental health. I still do even now. So the frequency of postings that I make are all around my mental health and my condition. So bipolar is what I have. It's a form of depression, and I think depression is probably the number one killer of, I think, men of a particular age. No, and the fact that we don't talk about it, the fact that we feel weak, maybe we feel inferior to people. You know, my form of stress is not just to do with work. It's a historical, it's an hereditary thing which I can't control. And some days I'm up, some days I'm low. You know, I'm on a medication to kind of try to alleviate some of those. But I have to accept the limitations that I have. Now, stress can come in many forms. You know, it can start off really small, and you know, that's the best time to really capture it. You know, when you start to feel stress, you know, what do? You know, you can exercise, you can go to the gym, but I think what's really important is that you talk to people, that you reach out, and you don't try to bottle everything up, because that's the worst thing that you can do. So something so small can end up being exacerbated, and then all the small things just kind of add up to the point where you can't take it, you know, and it's something that I've experienced. So last year, you know, I've made a video on this, and, you know, you may or may not have experienced the same thing. So I, for years and years and years, little to no with the illness that I had, you know, I had or have a stammer, and I am or became pretty good at hiding it, or, you know, hiding that from the world. And it was a big shame to me. You know, I was ashamed, you know, added to other things that have happened in the past. I continuously, you know, lumped problems, you know, and every so often, you know, I would feel depressed, as I know now, and would try to bottle those things up. Now, consistently over the years, you know, for probably since I was 16, probably that's when kind of I first noticed it. And then never talking to people, because, you know, I thought, you know, I wanted to be a strong man, and then I became a husband and a father, and then you kind of build things, and you build this idealistic viewpoint of a world in your mind, and you feel you cannot open up, you feel you cannot talk. And I wish I'd have known now that, number one, it was okay to stammer, and number two, it was okay to talk to people. And then I got to last year, and I didn't want to be here anymore. Now, I have 3 amazing children. I have a wife. I have a home that I worked hard to get, and nothing was handed to me. And even if it was, that's absolutely fine. Now, I have, from the outside, I have everything that most people could want, and I would agree with that completely. However, internally, the cost to get here for me, and not knowing an underlying condition, not knowing the past events that kind of were there and always been there, it goes to show that there are more successful people than me who this has happened to, who have ended their lives. And it doesn't matter whether you're wealthy, whether you're poor, nobody's health is more important than anyone. This is a collective, a collective epidemic that is striking men. So from the outside, everything was fine, but internally for years, I struggled with past events, struggled with the stammer, struggled with work. I have a highly paid job, and the pressures of that as well. And obviously the bipolar, I didn't know that, but I do know now. So all that on top of each other, and I could have probably have found this out if only I'd have opened myself up and spoken to somebody before. So I didn't want to be here anymore, and I'd kind of made plans, and I don't know who, what, why, but I was very lucky and fortunate enough where I just reached out for help, and through sheer luck, I've now managed to talk to people, and I know what this is. I am probably, the scariest thing from my perspective is I'm probably never going to be the same again. This is a new way for me, and I need to learn to deal with that now. I deal with that now by talking to people, and it's really scary, and I'm scared. I've not really been scared of too much, but I'm now scared, and we have to talk to people, because talking to my wife, not necessarily talking to my children as much about it, but they are aware that something is afoot. And then just talking to other people about it and kind of trying to be as open as possible. That's not going to stop my ups and downs, but it's going to, help. So this is why I feel like I'm in a position whereby I can now try to open up to you guys, and I can only implore you to talk to people now. Just looking at those stats, and I really dislike that word, being a statistic, because all of these men, they have a name, and it's really sad that this is still happening on such a large scale. And I think I can only implore you, I can only say to you that if you think somebody needs to talk to somebody, as another male, even if your problems are small, if you think that there's no other way out, there is another way, and we can fix our problems. When you think that there is no other option than to end your life because people will be better off without you in their lives, that's simply not true. People would rather have you here than not have you here. And I can only offer my sympathies with families and people and children and everyone else who has a parent or a son or a granddad or a dad or whoever else isn't there anymore. And it really saddens me because I know what it's like. I was there again a couple of weeks ago, purely because of the condition. And, you know, but this time, because I have people there around me who can see that, they can help me. And this is one of the most important aspects of this, is that as a man, you know, as a husband, you know, as a human being, you know, I really implore you, as I've already said, to, and sometimes it's really, it's I think it's easy for people to say, you know, to talk to people, and you don't know who to talk to, you don't know who to turn to, you know, just, you know, I'd even say to you, you know, stand on the street and just scream out for help, because it doesn't matter how you get that help, it doesn't matter who you speak to, it's about making that initial interaction with somebody. And people do want to know, people do care about you. And as much as you cannot see, when you're in that place, that really dark place, and you feel like people aren't there and people can't see you and people don't know, if you don't tell people what the problems are, there is always a solution to a problem. It may not be the solution that you want, but there is a solution to a problem. And I can assure you, when you're in that dark place and you feel like you're in a hole and you feel like you can't climb out of that hole, you just need that ray of light. And I promise you that you just talk to anybody, talk to somebody. You know, there are the Samaritans, you know, there is Mind, you know, there are neighbours, there are people on the street. You know, you can come and talk to the channel. You know, I'd be more than happy to just listen to somebody. If you want to get in contact with the channel, I obviously advise you in the first place, you know, to speak to your GP, you know, to speak to people who are experts in this field. But, you know, if you can reach out to the channel, you know, you can reach out to a friend, a brother, you know, somebody at work, just anybody. And we need to get these numbers down and really address why young men are ending their lives as prematurely as they are. So November has nearly come to an end, but it doesn't stop. Men throughout the whole year end their lives. You know, it doesn't stop for a month. You know, this is a continued thing that is happening. You know, I knew, you know, that let's not be another statistic. You know, let's try and work this through together. So just please just be safe. You know, if you want to comment and reach out for help, you know, I absolutely do not care about liking the video, subscribing, and all that crap, because, you know, this is not about that. This is for us men, and my sympathies to the men that have been lost. You know, and I just want you, and I want to stay safe and continue to be safe. So please, as I say, if you need somebody to talk to, my contact information will be in the video. And please just stay safe, and talk to somebody, so we can get you that help. So on that note, just please stay safe, and I'll see you again. Take care.